on YouTube. There you go. Look at that. We're live.
We did it,
Hey,
Ben.
Rachel.
Hey, Ben. GM from across the pond. I can't believe we made a Twitter space and a live stream happen, and it's on a Saturday.
Right.
And I'm still only on my second cup of coffee.
Cup of Joe. I've had several more than you then. I've had a busy day today. I also got something super cool in the post, which I'm going to show you now on screen. Look at this cute little camera.
What is that?
So this has been sent to me by an amazing glitch artist called Dornia. I bought it from their Etsy page, and it's a glitch camera. So Dornia is, as well as being a really cool artist, is really techie and has undone and changed some settings in the electronics of this. And now when I take photographs, they're like real glitch, like negatives and all kinds of colors, and it's wild. I need a memory card, which I've just ordered from Amazon. And when it comes, I'm going to take some and I'm going to share some of the pictures. But I really love glitch art, and I was like, how do I get more into it? What can I do? And now when I'm on my dog walks, I can take pictures of things.
That is so fun. It speaks to the innovation and the creativity that's here in Web3. Like so many amazing creators just thinking beyond the box. I love it.
Yes.
And speaking of, I'm loving your t-shirt there, or your sweatshirt.
A little keep herring. My herring one, yeah. Well, I like to be on brand. And what I'm also going to do very quickly is I'm just going to pin this space to the top here. So I've learned how to do that quickly now here. And then if all of you all who are already listening, thank you so much for joining us, would please go retweet the room and also drop a little comment down in the bottom. That would be very, very nice of you to do so.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, I'm going to quickly do that. And like this. Oh my goodness, Benjamin.
And I just realized my battery is running low on my phone. So let's hope we can continue this.
Let's try and get
on the space.
Get through this in a wonder. So look, we prepared a little bit earlier on. This is really exciting for us because we're on the eve of dropping a Ordinals drop as audio galleries, and I'm super excited, and I don't want to be shilly. I want to talk about this because it's something that we took a bit of time to consider, and you know, I think it's an exciting thing for us to be getting into. It's a really interesting thing for us to bring our audience into, and so it's a funny one at the moment because, you know, Ordinals feel like they're racing ahead in terms of the conversation, and yet still so many people have no exposure. Right, and are kind of in the dark about even what is going on that side of things.
I have to share a funny story with you because as I was getting ready for this, my wife was like, "So is it an Ordinal NFT?" And I'm like, "No, but not technically. It's an inscription on a Bitcoin." She's like, "I don't know any of these words that you're saying, so I'm just gonna turn off and you go do your thing."
And I think kind of don't know.
Right, and that's okay. And I think that's the beauty of what we're doing here right now is like we're learning out loud, and what you've been doing with your daily spaces, Ben, is really cool because you guys are just talking out the new lay of the land in this crazy arena. So I think it's awesome that we're doing this. But I will say you've onboarded me into Ordinals, so I've only been here about a week, but you've been in the ecosystem for a little while, and I'm curious to know what you think, perhaps if you think artists should even be looking at this.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So I went to Miami, and so I faded Ordinal Summer last year. I thought it was a whole load of humdrum. And I just didn't pay attention. And do you know what I thought it was? And this is something that I will never ever do again. Whenever I look at something and I think it's complicated, I'm going to go harder at it, because what I did last year was it looked complicated. They were dealing with spreadsheets and things like this, and I was just like the user experience in Web3 is already in enough trouble. But now we're talking about spreadsheets and stuff. Like, I don't know if I've got capacity. So I faded it, and then I went to Miami, and I met my good friend Button, JB, and that's who I host my daily Ordinal space with now. And I went to the Punk Brunch because I got invited to speak at that, and he went to an Ordinals meetup, and like Casey Rodemore, who's the person that set up and founded the Ordinals protocol and is now doing the Runes protocol, was there, and a whole load of other like OG Ordinal folks were in the room. And he came back from it, and we were like, let's debrief. How was your afternoon? And I said, well, mine was great. I was in the room with this person and this person. It was amazing speaking. All of that. I said, how was your afternoon? And he was like, Ben, something is happening with Ordinals. He said, I don't know what it is, but I was in a room with 40, 50 people who were gigabrain, and there's just this sense that something is happening on that protocol, and we've got to pay attention. And that was the day I downloaded an Xverse wallet, and I started to pay attention to what was going on. And he and I said we were going to become accountability buddies. So we were going to check in every day on that. Right. Now, Vintage Mozart has said that I've got echo on my thing. So I don't know what that is because I'm muted. There it is. Right, Vintage, could you let me know again? Because I've now
we can't hear you at all.
Okay, so now I've opened that again. I think it might be.
You don't have an echo in the space. Maybe it's on the video on the live stream.
So can you hear me still now?
I can hear you fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that's what it was. So Vintage, can you just confirm that that's okay? Again, thank you so much for jumping in and letting me know that, dude, in the comments. I'm really grateful for that. Okay, so I'm going to keep going as we are, and hopefully Ben, that's good enough.
Just to your point there, it's funny you say that because you're talking about the friction, and I think that's one of the things that is like limiting to so many is like it's just too many steps, it's too scary, it's too out of my league. But I too faded Ordinals a year ago when there was talk about bringing some projects over to BTC, but it was actually during Paris. In addition to your kind of activity on Ordinals, I sat next to Amanda Terry, who's the founder of On-Chain Monkey, and they are like going in hard for the Ordinals community. So that was, for me, that was like, okay, maybe we need to start paying attention.
Yeah, I think so too.
But carry on, please.
Yeah, so exactly that though. Like we decided we were going to hold one another accountable. I got involved in the ecosystem. I bought my puppet. I've collected a few others subsequently. I know the puppets, right? They're funny. They're funny. I really love them. And the more I look at the artwork, the more I really get into it. So but I think what's cool about them is that culturally they're important for Ordinals, and that there's something going on there. And I feel like I'm kind of part of the club now. And that for me was important. I wanted to get in and understand. So the question you gave me a moment ago was, should artists be paying attention? Yes, I think they absolutely should. But with an exception. You need to be really, really careful not to just run in here and think that, the going's good, we're in a bull market, I'm going to go drop another 10,000 collection. Yeah. With absolutely no exposure to what the community is all about and what the culture is like on the BTC side of things, particularly if you are an artist that has had a modicum of success on ETH. And I think that's just a really, really important thing. Come in, participate. Kate Nygaard this week dropped a 10,000 collection of little puppets. Kate has been in and hanging out and doing the do in Ordinals throughout. And also to that end has also been a puppet holder and been an active puppet holder in that community. And so for him to then drop a collection which kind of married up puppets with their little pup counterparts made perfect sense, right? That was his entry, and it was a big collection, but he understood and he was integrated into the culture of it. I think someone else coming in and just thinking that they can just stroll in and drop something is a tall order. And I think people need to really take their time to understand who the people are that are making it happen, why they're making it happen, why there is, given the fact that ETH had NFTs, down, so it would have appeared, why was there this important now to create inscriptions and to bring art on chain in this manner? And I think that's a really, really interesting thing for artists to explore. And I think they should pay attention, but I think they should do it really thoughtfully. That's my view on that. And I think I'll put it back to you. You were around during the 2021 bull. I actually wasn't. I came in late. I came in like December 2021, and all the cool stuff had already happened.
All the chaos had happened.
Exactly. But you saw several artists who now have like serious commercial success, you know, come in and do something fantastic on ETH. Like, what would you say is the best approach for these? Was the best approach for these artists? And what do you think the approach ought to be now? Like, now that we're starting to interrogate and learn about the ordinal side of things?
It's a great question, and I will say, as I was thinking about this when you were just talking, like, this does actually feel a lot like those early days of ETH, because when I came into the space, it was March 2021. It was still a friction-filled experience to drop an NFT. Like, I remember doing a drop party on Clubhouse and accidentally minting like 100 of my piece instead of a 1 of 1. And like live in that conversation, I had JR showing me how to undo all this. It was a complete mess. So like, you know, a lot of that time was like, we were just learning out loud ourselves. We were in Clubhouse rooms. Nobody was an expert. Like, people were just sharing their knowledge, sharing their experience. And, you know, there was that kind of community spirit. And I think that's, you know, for what you're indicating there, I wasn't aware that Cake was involved in the Ordinals community, but it makes a lot of sense because, you know, that those kind of drops don't just come out of nowhere and do, you know, have that kind of success and fly the way that that drop did. So I think there's a lot of comparisons. I will say that what I think happened in early 2021 was unique in the sense that, you know, it was the first kind of drive of NFTs. It was the first time we were seeing art actually being put onto the blockchain. Obviously, you had that huge Beeple sale, which was a huge signal to the market that there was a potential here. You know, I'll say we've been advising Nyla, obviously Nyla Hayes, on this upcoming Bitcoin Ordinals drop that she has next week, which I'm really excited to actually talk about. But in a broad perspective, I think the best thing artists can do is to just be intentional. And I think that speaks for everything. That speaks for wherever you're deploying. I think there's a temptation to be really prolific and just constantly be putting out work. I don't think that works for everybody. I think somebody like an Amber Vittoria, perhaps because she is somebody whose work is, you know, can translate to any kind of shape, form, blockchain, what have you. But that's quite a unique case. And I think for most people that necessarily doesn't apply. Not for, you know, if you're someone who's prolific, nobody's saying that's right or wrong. But I think what's really special about the way Nyla's coming at it, you know, Nyla's somebody who came into the space at 12 years old. She was super young, right? It's still hard to believe.
I still can't really.
It's crazy. And, you know, what happened with Nyla was this cycle of, you know, beautiful art, putting it out, reaching out to community members again, building that communication, building that network, and then being platformed by major Web 2 companies. You know, Time came in with their project and elevated Nyla. Nyla was actually their first artist in residency. Then she did, you know, a couple of more projects with Time. You saw brands come in behind artists and start to actually elevate and platform them. I think what's going to be interesting is to see if that happens with BTC. My thought is it'll take a while for that to happen because of the distrust that we've had in crypto after FTX and all that drama, but I do think it will happen. So I think in terms of, you know, without going too far off on a tangent, I think for artists, really thinking intentionally about what it is that you want to say. And I think also thinking about the history of the chain. You know, one of the wild things that we discovered this week, and indulge me a little if you will, Ben, as I tell the story, but when I was doing my research to actually put a press release together about Nyla's drop, I found that Nyla was actually born the same year as the first Bitcoin was mined, which totally blew my mind. And then we found out that not only was she born in that year, she was born 48 hours before the first Bitcoin was mined. Nyla was born on New Year's Day. First Bitcoin was mined on January 3rd. So all of a sudden, you've got this rich history, this tie and this reason and motivation and intent as to why this matters and why this is a moment. So, you know, I just think intention is everything.
You're right. And I think, you know, to that end, any artist, and I know, you know, Nyla has been very, very intentional and has asked us to help her, I guess, guide her into this with the most, with the best intentions. And so like it's about the right size, like 350 pieces, just short of,
which we could have done very different, right? We could have gone 3,000 pieces. We could have gone huge.
Exactly. But it's about acknowledging that like this is the progression of her art. And let's not talk about Nyla for a moment. Let's say this for anyone. It's about acknowledging that this is like the progression of your practice. It's about understanding the fact that you have found a home in Web3, and that right now we're just starting to be able to open the door to Ordinals as a protocol, which essentially Bitcoin is what founded all of Web3's potential. Like it's what really developed blockchain as a technology. And also it's about things like looking for provenance, like to have something permanently inscribed on chain is one thing. I was explaining to you about block 9. And so this... I'm a self-professed non-techie working in a techie community, but let's go there, because I remember you saying, hey, this is really exciting. We're going to get to do this on block 9. And I'm like, I have no idea what you just said, but let's talk about that significance. So there are rare Satoshis that people can buy, or there are Satoshis of significance. And so a Satoshi, if you view like a block that the Bitcoin is mined on, it is made up of a number of Satoshis. The best way I can explain this without going super, super technical is like cents in a dollar, right? But it's much like the fragmentation of that is so much more significant. Like there are many, 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 many Satoshis that would go into making up a Bitcoin. But the first the first Bitcoin that was mined, how do I say this? Right, here's the way to say it. The first Satoshis that are available to the rest of the world are on block 9, because all of the Bitcoin that was mined on blocks 1 to 8 still exist in Satoshi Nakamoto's wallet.
See, I'm kind of glazing over just with these words. I'm not gonna lie.
So they were mined, but have never been shared.
Right.
And to all intents and purposes, like probably never will. Like the way that whole Satoshi thing has happened, and like we don't even know who Satoshi is. And whether they are even still alive. Like we've got no idea.
There's some theories, but you can go down
of course there are.
Don't go down a conspiracy theory rabbit hole.
But to that end, if we say that 1 to 8 are written off, and that number 9 is the first one that is available because Satoshi sent Bitcoin to another individual, and I can't remember his name. But if they then become the first Satoshis that are available in the wider space. And so to then inscribe your artwork as an artist that was born in the same year or that was around during that time, whose practice has developed because of blockchain technology, on block 9, for me, from a provenance point of view, that feels like it comes with more intention. Yeah. And these are the things, like, it's not just about integrating yourself with the community, which you absolutely should do. It's also about making sure that you are thinking about what value you can add to your artwork by delivering it in this way. Like, because otherwise, why are we doing it? What's the point? And so I really, really loved the idea that when the team from Magic Eden spoke to us about rare Satoshis, that we learned about the prominence of block 9, and that was the route that we took. That was the route that Nyla was like, that I want to do that. If we're doing it, we're doing it there, because if we don't do it there, then this feels like insincere. Yeah, I think that's super cool, and I think that's what I mean when there's a space for artists on Ordinals, but I think it's about sincerity. It's about intention. Yeah.
Let's talk about that accessibility piece just for a second. I know we didn't plan to, but with the rise of the price of ETH, it is starting to become kind of prohibitive for creators to actually mint on a layer 1. Like, I know we're talking about Ordinals, but like a lot of folks are looking at layer 2, and we have a layer 2 plan in place for our mint passes, which we're not going to talk too much about today. But do you feel like there's all of the things can coexist? Do you think that perhaps maybe artists should be thinking about their elevated premium work bringing that to Ordinals and perhaps kind of, editions being on L2?
Well, what I will tell you is that we wouldn't have been able to mint these Ordinals if it weren't for the expertise at Magic Eden. We would have had to go and find a developer who knew how to inscribe. And that currently, like, if you think about what you are able to do on layer 2s with like Zora, or
OP.
with and exactly using layer 2s like Optimism and the Super Chain, or things like Manifold, right? Like that couldn't be easier. Anyone can turn up with artwork with some money in a wallet on a layer 2 exchange, which is then very, very cheap, and mint artwork and do their thing.
Right.
So the tech bit still isn't right from an Ordinals point of view, but the price bit isn't. Like, if you think about the provenance that you can add to your work, for me that doesn't feel as prohibitive. Like, for us it was a little bit more expensive here because of the block 9 satoshis and all of that kind of stuff. But actually, like, by comparison, if you look at the way, I mean, if Ethereum, mainnet Ethereum were to continue to be, like, besieged by more and more users on a daily basis, we get to the stage where we were in December 2021, where something would cost $400 or $500 to mint, and I don't want to be back in that place. Like, that is completely, unreasonable and not sustainable at all. And I can see Vintage Mozart in the room, and he and I were talking about that when we first met, about this idea of like accessibility, and not just accessibility for people like you and I, but for people that live in countries where literally that is an unthinkable amount of money. Like, it's just not practical. And so I'm really interested to see where inscription costs go longer term as this tech is smoothed out, and where they land in comparison to mainnet ETH, as an example.
One of the things I'm looking at is institutional adoption. I've kind of shouted from the rooftops that I felt we have it a little skewed here, that we're putting so much power and respect on old institutions to kind of determine and co-sign who we believe should be successful here. I'm speaking about the popular auction houses, galleries, etc. But we could also say that they've adopted our technology. We've seen major auctions. We've seen Beeples. We've seen Claire Silvers at these auction houses. I'm intrigued to see if they go down the BTC path, or if they start to think about the super chain. I think that's going to be very telling, and I think that will dictate a little bit, as much as I don't want it to dictate. I think it'll be a good signal for artists in terms of what the next 5 to 10 years will look like.
I mean, Xcopy this week released an open edition via Manifold using, I think, Base.
Yeah.
So, which is pretty much gasless.
Yep.
Now, Xcopy is probably, I would say, in the top 5 in terms of like, what are the words I'm looking for here?
Prolific here, or accomplished, I would say, in terms of...
I would say accomplished, prolific, and look, most people who are active right now and appreciate what digital art and that canon looks like would want to collect. Like, I would love an Xcopy grifter. I would absolutely love one. And I don't have the money to buy one at the moment, but if I came into a position where I did, I think that would probably be the piece of art that I look at. And Xcopy's art is just like so sought after. So for Xcopy to go down the route of minting an open edition via a layer 2 solution, that says to me that a conversation has happened. Now, I've got no evidence of that whatsoever, and I could be completely wrong. So this isn't me being a douchebag, but that's just me saying, actually, maybe Xcopy's looking at this and understanding the responsibility that they have, and the responsibility to the chain more broadly and to the space more broadly, and actually saying, hey, it's cool and it's okay to create a fantastic piece of artwork and make it available via this method. And I think that, and I hope that's what's happened. I really genuinely hope that was the intention. because over 200,000 of those.
That's insane. That's wild and exciting. Yeah, and a good signal. One of the things that we've kind of talked about with audio galleries is like these two camps that exist here, that we've got people who are here for the culture, aka degens, speculators, and then you've got the people that are here for the art. Do you think that we will start to see more of a convergence? I mean, do you think that we still have a long way to go to really attract collectors that are here to actually experience and enjoy the art? Or is it just a part of our human nature that there will always be speculators?
Do you know, beforehand, up until maybe 2 or 3 months ago, I was firmly camped in, I am here to support art and artists. And that is why I founded Audio Galleries initially. That is why I've engaged with Sigrid and you to come in and act as co-founders so that we can push and create an amazing platform for artists. What I will tell you is that I have never, and I don't know if that's just in line with the fact that there's a little bit more liquidity coming back to the space, but I would say the last 3 months where I've started to participate in more of what space has available to it, in terms of like Solana and the casino over there, and now Ordinals and what's going on here, and also Layer 2 and what is being built out there. I feel like by integrating myself into the culture more broadly in terms of what's going on, and understanding a bit more about like memes and how they can be applied, and how they too, like in response, become art, and how now life and art imitate one another in the space and all that stuff. I have found myself really enjoying the space much more now that I feel I'm grounded in more camps, so to speak. And so for me, I think anyone would be remiss to come in and not think that every segment of what makes up Web3 had relevancy. Like that's where I'm at the moment. So I hope it all comes together, and I hope we can all gamble. I hope we can all create great artwork. I hope we can all meet in real life. I hope we can all apply it to commerce and communication. I hope we can smooth out the UI and bring all of this in so that people are able to come and enjoy it. I hope we can develop the tech better. Like, I hope everyone from every walk who has something to do and say in this space gets to appreciate it together, because I think that's how we grow much, much quicker.
I love that. I love that sentiment. And I think that, just going back to Nyla, like for me to be advising her, we're advising Nyla as audio galleries on this drop. And, watching somebody like Nyla, who came into this space at 12 years old, had all this commercial success, went on to be signed by a Hollywood agency. I mean, it reads like a movie script, Nyla's story. Right. But to then, grow in the space as we see kind of mass adoption of Bitcoin. We see Bitcoin coming up to a very historical event with the halving coming up next month. But to then have Nyla, come to us and really want to do something with intent and bring through a much more mature body of work than what we saw with her Long Necky Ladies, which were amazing and exciting at that time, but to come back with this really sophisticated, elevated work at this time when, I mean, I will say it, crypto feels like it's in this maturing, more sophisticated mass adoption point.
Definitely. It's growing up, right?
Yeah, there's a poetry there. There's a synergy there that, is really exciting. And obviously we have this drop coming up on Tuesday. I think what I'm intrigued to see is like, what is the collector base like on Ordinals? You've been there for a little while. Like, what are you seeing? What's the kind of signals over there?
It's really interesting. I think a number of people who were involved in what was happening in Ethereum have come over to have fun and explore and see what's going on. I also think a number of people who were very passionate about mining and cultivating the community and the culture around Bitcoin itself are present. And so there is a real convergence of those two communities coming together to form an additional community. And I'm seeing spaces start to pop up all over X. I'm seeing events start to be organized at places like ETH Denver. And I know NFT NYC is going to have some Ordinal specific activity going on, and Miami did, and I absolutely know that Lisbon NFC conference is going to be doing it. And so I think it's a really, really exciting time and I think that the community that is forming around this is one that is both intentional, supportive, but maybe I say it slightly more discerning. But still here having fun. Like Casey Rodemor's building. He said, if you want to play in the Bitcoin casino, at least let me build you a good one. And that's what this runes thing that's coming up is, right? So let's not kid ourselves and think that it's it's caviar and art galleries. Like,
right.
There's still the speculative side of that going on, and there always will be in the space while it becomes an asset that still is essentially speculative, right? It's still an emerging asset, and so I do think there's a lot of fun to be had here, and I think, and actually, I'm also really intrigued to see, you say it yourself, Nyla's work here with Lady V is so much more mature. Like, see the progression in her work is incredible, and I'm really interested to see, because a lot of what has been released on Ordinals to date has been very pixely, very
lowbrow. That's the word.
Right?
Lowbrow art.
Because it's still super cool. Like, I love it. Like, my puppet is my favorite.
Yeah, lowbrow. I mean, as an art kind of movement in the general art canon, there was always a place for lowbrow art, and I think that's what we're seeing with Bitcoin Ordinals. Like, it's fun. It's yes. Yeah. And I think there's an opportunity to carve out a niche and be an access point for fine artists, and I think that's kind of where we're leaning with audio galleries. We're excited to potentially bring other fine artists into this ecosystem. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, me too. Can't wait. Busy week ahead.
It sure is.
I really enjoyed this. I think maybe let's drop it there, because I think we're going to jump back on again on Monday, and then no doubt we'll have our spaces on Tuesday. To the 20 people that have been watching in the stream, and to the sort of 15 or so that have been in to listen to us, really appreciate you coming out today. Thank you for taking the time. If any of you have got questions, audiogalleries.io, or just find us all Audio Galleries on X, and DMs are open, and we're very happy to help you out.
Yeah, and also if you don't have an Ordinals wallet and you want to set one up, Sigrid did an amazing video that you can go watch that is on our YouTube page as well. Yeah,
and it's a really good way to set up. And the Nyla drop goes live on Tuesday, which is the 25th of 26th.
26th.
My bad.
Yeah,
26th of March 2024, depending on when you watch this. and we're really looking forward to it. If you want to try and get loudest access for that, head over to the Audio Galleries page as well, and you can find all of that stuff. So brilliant stuff. Thank you so much, Rachel, for taking the time
Thanks,
today. Have a
Ben.
wonderful Saturday.
Yeah, enjoy, everybody. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.